Hey everyone, how's it going? Cloud here, and welcome to my guide on the Runescape Daemonheim task system. In this video today we'll be focusing on the hard tasks. Now, before we get going through this guide, we're going to cover a few things which are the requirements and items needed to complete all of the tasks. So for the quest requirements, there's only two. You need to have completed Salt in the Wound, and you need to also have partially completed a Clockwork Syringe up to the part where you access the area with rum-pumped crabs. So that's it for quest requirements. Now onto skill requirements. There's quite a lot of higher level ones here. You'll need 75 construction, 75 strength, 68 farming. Now 71 dungeoneering is required. However, in order to obtain the amount of tokens that you're going to need to complete all the tasks, it will require a minimum of level 87 dungeoneering, and that's without you using any of the tokens in the past and without use of Sinkholes or Fremennik Sagas. And I'll talk about the token requirements in a few moments. Level 70 Divination, which can be boosted, level 69 Cooking, 65 Prayer, 60 Attack, 55 Agility. These skills to be able to actually start Clockwork Syringe, 74 Smithing, 74 Thieving, 76 Defense, 65 Summoning and 61 Slayer. You need 54 Runecrafting, which can be boosted, 30 Magic and 30 Ranged. And for items, all the required items apart from the Ring of Kinship can be obtained through Daemonheim, and what I'll do in this video is basically show you the easiest way of sort of obtaining the items you need through the dungeoneering activities in order to complete the task quicker. Now I did mention obviously about the required dungeoneering tokens, so there's two things you're going to need to purchase in order to complete all the tasks. One of them is a rapid renewal prayer which costs 38,000 tokens, so that itself isn't too expensive in terms of how dungeoneering goes. However, the one that will cost you a lot is to have a fully upgraded Ring of Kinship roll, and that will cost 323,215 tokens to fully upgrade from start to finish. Obviously, some of you may have already got a partially upgraded ring, but obviously you're going to still need quite a lot of tokens. Now, what I'd advise doing, because obviously just completing the dungeoneering activities over and over again will only generate so many tokens, I would heavily advise using the Sinkhole minigame in order to get dungeoneering tokens as a reward, as you get some rewards to you anyway as a minimum, but you can also as a prize get rewarded even more tokens if you choose the right chest. So I would advise doing that in order to get all the tokens you need. Anyways, enough about the requirements and items, now onto the tasks themselves. So these tasks can be completed in any particular order. You don't have to follow the order that I show in the video. The only reason I do this specific order is it's the quickest way of completing them all if you're planning to do them as one set. Now on that note, some of these tasks you may have already completed during your adventures across RuneScape, so it might not come up saying task complete if you try to obviously complete one you've already done before. So you can obviously see what tasks you've already completed by going to the Heroes tab and then choosing achievements, and then if you click the area that you're going to be covering, so in this case Daemonheim, that will show you any tasks you've completed already. And obviously, needless to say, all of these tasks will take place within the vicinity of Daemonheim, so you haven't got to travel far, and that's where we'll be starting off. So the first task we're going to complete is called Occult Classic, and that's to complete any Occult Floor solo on any complexity. So the catch with this is you must complete the entire floor and uncover all of the rooms, and this will include bonus rooms on complexities 5 and 6. So obviously you can do a low complexity in this to get away with sort of that. And the Occult Floor is from the 36th floor up to the 47th floor, so you can choose whichever one you want. But yeah, literally all you need to do with this, and most of you probably have already done this particular one, is just go through the whole dungeon as quick as possible, really, just to speed up the completion of these tasks. And you need to make sure you have unlocked all of the rooms, so the whole floor needs to be completed by the end of the dungeon. You can obviously kill the boss if you get up to it, and then carry on unlocking the rooms if you still have some more to do so. If you get any ones that require any potion boosts that you're capable of making, obviously you'll need to do that as well. But once you've cleared all of the rooms, killed the boss and unlocked everything, when you go to complete this floor and it comes up with the XP, it will then also say the task has been complete. So we're next going to try and complete several tasks together here, and it's quite easy to do this as long as you sort of do these prerequisites. So what you want to do is exit any floor that you're currently in the progress of, and also note this will require you to have not used your daily aura of being able to choose your boss. What you want to do is on the interface is pick the 33rd floor, as we're going to need this to go after a specific boss that we need to kill. You also want to select medium-sized dungeon in order to give yourself the most amount of resources, and when it asks you to choose which boss you want to face, you want to select Baulak the Pummeler, as one of the tasks we need to complete is to make him step on one of his own rifts in a solo dungeon. Again, some of you may have already completed this, but I would go along with this anyways. So once you arrive in this floor, you want to start completing it like you normally would, and I'll also tell you to look out for several things throughout. So one of the things you want to look out for while completing this floor is some level 70 Divination wisps, so tier 8 ones, and the task we're completing there is called Thanks for the Memories, and that's to harvest memories from a tier 8 or higher spring, and that requires a minimum of level 70 Divination, which you can boost from level 64 with a standard Gatherer's Potion, or from level 61 with a strong Gatherer's Potion, but obviously only lustrous springs and above will count for that task to be completed, so you just want to keep your eye out for those while completing this floor. Another thing you want to do is make sure you collect enough coins in order to afford 225 rune essence, as we've got two tasks we're going to complete here. One of the tasks is called Lawful Crafting, and that's easy enough. It's to craft some lore runes while inside the dungeon, and that requires level 54 rune crafting and a piece of rune essence within Dungeoneering, and you can use a naturalist potion to boost your level if necessary. So only crafting one lore rune is required to complete that task. However, one of the other tasks that we need to complete is to start a floor with 225 of any type of ammo bound to you, and that requires the Salt in the Wound quest completed. And what you'll need is 225 ammo bound to you, and that can be either arrows or runes. Now, as we're already going to be making lore runes, unless you already have 225 ammo bound to you, I would craft 225 lore runes, and then you can choose to bind those to you. That way, the next time you enter a floor with that bound ammo, you will have completed the stack task as well. Another task we're going to complete while we are near the altar is called the Wanderer, and that's to imbue a catalytic wand on a runecrafting altar, and this will require level 50 runecrafting and a spine beam wand. So the easiest way to do it is, if you've obviously found some spine beam trees throughout the dungeon floor, you would have found some branches. If not, you can buy some branches from the smuggler, and what you need to do is, with a knife in your inventory or tool belt and 48 fletching, you want to craft a spine beam wand, and then you want to use the wand on the runecrafting altar to imbue it into a catalytic wand, and once you've done that, that task will be complete as well. Another task we're going to complete, and this requires you either to have found these resources throughout the dungeon or to have got enough coins in order to buy them from the smuggler, is called a prayer opportunity, and that's to build a prayer altar in the starting room and fill up your prayer points from it, and this requires level 75 construction and level 50 smithing, which both can be boosted with potions, and you're going to need 5 Bovish Strangler branches and 5 Zephyrium bars. So as I said, you can either find the Zephyrium ore and Bovish Strangler branches throughout your floor, but if not, if you've obviously saved enough coins, which will be about 145,000 in total, you'll be able to buy the amount you need. So you can buy the 5 Bovish Strangler branches and you can buy the 5 Zephyrium ore and then smith them into bars using a furnace. And then simply what you need to do with those items, right click the group gatestone portal and click replace, and then you can choose to make the prayer altar. Now once you have made the altar, what you need to do is let your prayer points deplete slightly, so just activate any prayers for a couple of seconds, and then what you need to do is recharge your points. Make sure you don't select the quick recharge option, as that doesn't work. You need to select the whole how many prayer points the altar has left to restore you with, and once you've selected to pray at the altar, it will then come up with task being complete. Another task we will complete whilst on this floor is called Get Stuffed, and that's to make a boulder bass and edicap potato from the raw ingredients and eat it in a boss fight. So this requires 69 cooking, which can be boosted, and 68 farming, which can be boosted. And what we're going to need to get is a cooked boulder bass, edicap mushroom and baked cave potato. So to get those ingredients we need to buy them from their raw forms from the smuggler, so that will obviously require the raw boulder bass to be bought. You'll also need to buy an edicap mushroom spore and a potato seed from the smuggler. So once you've bought those items, you then want to go and grow them. So obviously you want to go and find a nearby little farming patch and grow your potatoes using your potato seeds. Wait for those to fully grow and then pick those. And then the same again, you'll then need to grow your edicap mushrooms on the farming patch using your edicap mushroom spore. Again, use a boost if you require for the farming. And then once again, when they're fully grown, you want to harvest those. You'll then have all of the key ingredients required. So then what you need to do is cook those items. So you can either obviously use some logs in order to cook them, but obviously you do have the risk of it burning the boulder bass. Obviously if you use a stove, that gives you a bit of a higher chance of not burning them. However, that requires more items. Either way, light a fire, cook your boulder bass on the fire. Obviously if it does happen to burn, just obviously buy another boulder bass, or hopefully you've got several with you. Once you've done that, you then want to bake one of your cave potatoes. You shouldn't really burn them at your cooking level. What you then want to do is use your edicap mushroom on one of your baked potatoes, and it will come up with a little interface giving you a choice of either making a boulder bass potato or edicap potato. Choose the edicap potato option for this moment, and then once you've made that, then use your boulder bass on your edicap potato, and it will come up with another interface for you to make a boulder bass and edicap potato, and you'll then have constructed the food item you'll need. And it should say in your chat option that you're halfway to completing the Get Stuffed task. To finish that task off, what you need to do is eat your boulder bass and edicap mushroom potato in a boss fight. So obviously we're going to save that for the moment until we encounter our boss. So once we've found the boss, and hopefully it's Harlak the Pummeler if you was able to choose him as your boss at the beginning part of this dungeon floor. So obviously what I'd advise doing first is once you enter the room, you need to engage the boss, and as soon as the boss is fighting you, eat your edicap and boulder bass potato, and once you've consumed that in the boss room, that task will come as completed. The other task you're going to then want to try and complete, unless you've already completed it anyway, is to have Harlak the Pummeler walk onto his own rifts. So obviously during the boss fight, the Pummeler will spawn rifts on the floor, which if you step on will cause you damage. However, getting him to step on them will cause him damage and complete the task. So simply, because he's mostly a melee boss, he will follow you around the dungeon room. What you need to do is basically navigate him onto one of his own rifts, and then once he has stepped on one of the rifts, it will then come up as task being complete, and then what you can do is finish him off. So at this point, providing you've been able to do all the things that I've mentioned throughout this floor, you can then end this floor's progress and get your results. So obviously that's why I asked you at the beginning of the floor to choose those specific settings, as that enabled you to completed all of these following tasks, hopefully. So you would have been able to have completed the stack task. So if you've bound the 225 runes to you, once you continue your progress to the next floor, as soon as you appear in that floor, it will come up with that task being complete. You would have completed the Lawful Crafting, which was to craft some lore runes. You would have hopefully completed the Thanks for the Memories, which was to harvest some memories from a tier A spring. However, you may not have come across one of those, which will require you to maybe do a few more floors until you find that specific tier spring. You would have completed the Hoof Rot, which would have been having Harlak the Pummeler walking onto one of his own rifts. You would have completed the Prayer Opportunity, which is to build your prayer altar and pray at it. You would have completed the Imbuing the Cataclytic Wand on the Runecrafting altar, and you would have completed the Get Stuffed, which was to make the boulder bass and edicap potato and eating it in a boss room. So in total, that's 7 tasks you can potentially complete by choosing those settings at the beginning. So obviously, just to recap, that would have been choosing either floor 33, 34 or 35 on a medium leveled floor, and then hopefully if you hadn't used your Daemonheim or a daily charge to choose your own boss and selecting Harlach as the boss, those 3 settings will enable you hopefully to be able to complete all those tasks. As I said with the stack task, as soon as you've bound that ammo to you and entered a brand new floor, that task should come up as being complete as well. So the next task that we want to complete is called Provements, and that is to wear a ring of kinship with a fully upgraded role. So this is what I mentioned at the beginning of the guide, you're going to require a lot of tokens for. So in total, if you're going to fully upgrade one of your roles such as tank, medic, it's going to cost 323,215 tokens to fully upgrade it from level 0 to level 10. Obviously that will all depend on how far you've upgraded your ring throughout your general dungeoneering, so you might not actually have to acquire many more tokens. Without tokens from Sinkholes or Fremennik Sagas though, you'll need at least 85 dungeoneering in order to actually have earned all of those tokens. Also obviously with Treasure Hunter you can get dungeoneering tokens as rewards from that as well, so that's another thing there that hopefully would have accounted to you saving your tokens. Either way, once you have finally enough tokens in order to do that, what you need to do is, whilst dungeoneering, you want to open your interface and choose to fully upgrade it to its final level. So for me, I fully upgraded the Gatherer role within the Ring of Kinship. Once you have fully upgraded it, what you want to do is make sure your ring is enabled with that specific role, because obviously you have the ability to switch between 2 roles. And then what you'll need to do to complete the task is unequip your Ring of Kinship, and then once you re-equip the ring, the task will then register as complete. So like I said, that's the one that's going to be the sort of hardest requirement out of all of these, as it requires all of those tokens in order to fully upgrade the ring. But as I said, you've got several options there. Doing the general dungeoneering will obviously reward you tokens. Doing Sinkholes is a good way of earning tokens as a reward, and obviously you've got the Treasure Hunter where you hopefully will obtain a few dungeoneering tokens from that as well, and they may be sitting in your bank and you didn't even know it. The next task we're going to complete is Healing Factor, and that's to use the Rapid Renewal prayer for 1 minute whilst in a dungeon, and that requires you to have 65 dungeoneering, 65 prayer, and you need to have also unlocked the prayer first. So you can unlock it via the rewards person outside of the Daemonheim area, and that will cost you 38,000 tokens to purchase unless you've already bought it. So what you need to do is, once you have purchased the prayer, is enter any dungeoneering floor, and then what you need to do is activate the Rapid Renewal prayer, and you need it to last for 1 minute whilst inside the dungeon. Once 1 minute has passed with the prayer activated, that task will be complete, and obviously I'd advise having at least 200 prayer points remaining before you attempt to use complete this task, as obviously there is no prayer gear in dungeoneering to make the prayer depletion less. But again, pretty straightforward. If you just enter a brand new room and use that prayer for 1 minute, that task will then be complete. Now, this next task, if you have fully completed the Clockwork Syringe quest, this task should be completed anyway, and it's called Crabholic, and that is to kill a rum-pumped crab, and that requires you to have partially completed a Clockwork Syringe up to the part where you access the rum-pumped crab dungeon on Braindeath Island. If you haven't completed that particular task yet, what you'll need to do is, with a fishbowl helmet and diving apparatus, which can be retrieved from Murphy on the Khazard docks if you've lost them, you need to head to Braindeath Island with some weapon and armor in order to kill the crabs. So to get to Braindeath Island, what you need to do is teleport to the Ectofuntus area with an Ecto Vial, and then from there you need to speak to Pirate P. You can use the quick travel option for him to knock you out, and you'll arrive on Braindeath Island. And then to find the dungeon, we need to head to the very northern part of the island, which is by going through the brewery and past 50% Luke, and then making sure you're wearing your fishbowl helmet and diving summoning apparatus, you need to enter the dungeon, and you'll see lots of rum-pumped crabs about, and as soon as you've killed one of those successfully, that task would have been completed. Now, if you followed my guide on a Clockwork Syringe, I had advised you to have killed one of those crabs during the quest to avoid having to sort of come back at a later stage in order to complete the Dungeoneering task. Now, if you've been following my guide in this order up to this point, you should have completed all of the tasks except for the one, unless you've already done this, called Epic, and that is to complete all of the Fremennik Sagas with 100% completion. So what I will do for that bit now is show you basically a guide on how to complete each of the sagas to 100%. Now, some of them you would have already completed to 100% anyway, because they would have been required for the easy and medium Dungeoneering tasks. So what I will do, I will talk you through how to complete each saga to 100% for the remaining ones that you need to complete. So in order to be able to complete all the Fremennik Sagas, you need to have 71 Dungeoneering, 75 Strength, 60 Attack, 55 Agility, 55 Thieving, 30 Range and 30 Magic. So as I said, you should have completed the Freeze Company saga to 100% already, as that would have been the requirement for one of the previous Dungeoneering Daemonheim tasks. So the next saga I'm going to talk you through is called Vengeance. In order to activate the Vengeance saga, you need to have found a collection of swords throughout the Dungeoneering, which can be found between floors 12 and 17, and most of you should have probably found them on your travels anyway. Once you have uncovered those, you then want to speak to Scaldron, who obviously you talk to play each of the sagas, and you ask him to tell you a story. You'll then be able to choose to play the Vengeance saga. So what I will do, I will talk you through the saga, how to complete it to 100%. Now in this saga, you can follow the noble or ruthless path of vengeance. It won't change the outcome of completing it to 100%, as you need to have done certain things in order to do it, which doesn't affect which options you choose. So once you're in the starting room, you'll obviously meet all the adventurers, and once you've taken control of the character, what you need to do is enter the first room and kill the 4 level 105 Forgotten Warriors inside. Once you've done that, Scaldron then will move on to the next part of the tale, and a cutscene will follow, and you'll then be controlling a surviving Forgotten Warrior. So what you need to do is return to the starting room and talk to Orin. Now you've got two options here. You can choose the ruthless option, which is to choose to keep the fish and the silver crescent key will be taken from his corpse, or the noble option, which is to give Orin the fish in exchange for the key. Once you have the key, you then want to open the door. Now, you'll now enter the flip tile room. You've got two choices here. The ruthless option is to avoid being spotted and hide behind the pillars and then attack from behind to kill the ranger in combat, or the noble option is to kill the ranger in standard combat. Lotharia is of a relatively low level, and being a ranger, she is defeated by melee in the combat triangle, so she's unlikely to deal much damage to you before she's slain. Once she has been killed, you then want to solve the tile puzzle room to open the door. Then run through the next room and kill the spiders if needed for more giant flatfish. So you'll now encounter another adventurer. You've got two options here. The ruthless option is to pull the blue lever behind the summoning obelisk, summoning a horde of skeletons, and the noble option is to do not pull the blue lever behind the summoning obelisk and kill him normally anyway. Now, as the mage is a mage, you are obviously weaker to him in terms of the combat triangle, making this fight the most difficult one. So those of you would probably recommend doing the ruthless option so you don't have to actually fight him. Either way, once the mage is dead, you want to collect the blue triangle key and then unlock the door in the previous room. You now want to continue down the path through several rooms. You can kill the level 68 hellhounds for the anti-poison elixir, and the elixir will eliminate the poison effect you're undergoing for a little while. Killing the level 60 dungeon spiders for food is strongly recommended, as they always drop 2 to 7 giant flatfish. You then enter a room with a dying warrior named Argax. Talk to Argax behind the wall, and you've got two options here. The ruthless option is to encourage Argax to continue to fight the attacking party, or the noble option is to allow Argax to die peacefully. Now, finding Argax is one of the requirements to get 100% completion, so make sure you have done that when you come across them. You'll then need to enter 2 more rooms to reach the lever room. In the lever room, you need to pull the 5 levers within the time limit to unlock the door. You then need to talk to Carell in the second room after the lever room, and you've got 2 options. Use the ruthless option to kill him, or the noble option to let them live. Now, Confronting Carell is again another requirement to complete this saga to 100%, so make sure you have found him and used either the ruthless option to kill him or the noble option to let him live. We now need to kill Lola Wat, and there's 2 options here. The ruthless option will basically enable you to kill Lola Wat without having to do normal combat, so this depends on your food. So search the table in the southeast corner for a vial of poison, check the north door to get Lola to start moving towards the fishing spot, and then go through the west door. Use the poison on the fishing spot, and then check the north door to complete the circuit of the 4 rooms. Wait for Lola to use the fishing spot. Once they've used the poison fishing spot, the damage will knock her to 1 life point, and then you can then finish killing her off. Or the noble options to kill her in standard combat. So this fight will be quite hard, because obviously you'll be fighting her in Catagon armour with a Flame Burst Defender and Gorgonite Dagger. But either way, once she's defeated, let her live or kill her, and then go through the west door. So once you've defeated Lola Wat and going through the west door, you want to check Shiana's body, and again this bit is a requirement to get the 100% completion. So once you've checked Shiana's body, go through the north door and then the east door and talk to Pelias. And you've got 2 options here. The ruthless option is to tell him the truth to spur his hatred, or the noble option is to choose to lie to him so he'll die at ease. Then go back west and unlock the door with the key and continue through 7 more rooms. So that's all the side objectives completed now, so all you need to do is finish the saga off in order to obtain the 100%. So you now need to kill Kay Thanksby. She'll attack with her Gorgonite 2-handed sword on Crush, which is quite accurate, and if she casts Entangle once you enter, you can exit the room, and that prevents damage and lures her to the entrance. She'll often teleport you and the player around, and you'll have to re-engage in combat. So once Kay is defeated, choose any of the 4 options to end the saga. The first 2 options will not be available if you have acted too ruthlessly, and the last 2 options will not be available if you've acted too nobly. However, it doesn't affect the rewards, only the ending. So either way, you can choose one of the options that appears. Whatever one you pick doesn't affect the rewards, as I've said. After the saga's finished, Scoundrel will then give you the reward, which is the Vengeance book. Upon reading the book, it will disappear and you'll gain some experience. So the abridged book will give you 2,410 Dungeoneering experience and 241 Dungeoneering tokens. The unabridged book, which you would get if you completed it to 100%, which hopefully you have, will give you 25,415 experience in either Agility or Thieving. So like I said, you need to have obtained the unabridged book in order to have completed that saga to 100%, but as long as you followed my instructions through that, you should have done that no problem at all. So the next saga I will talk you through is Focket Tuum, and in order to do this one you need to have 59 Dungeoneering and 70 Strength, and you need to have found the Memory Fragment, and the Memory Fragment required to start this saga is the Scribbled Notes, and these notes can be found on any dungeon on any floor between 30 and 35. Once you've touched the Scribbled Notes, you will then be able to talk to Scoundrel about them. And basically in this saga you'll be controlling the character Fock, and obviously there will be some side objectives to complete in order to get to 100%. This one's quite straightforward though. Basically you need to have killed every single boss that you encounter throughout this saga, so I'll talk you through it. So in the saga you will control Fock. Fock heals by 250 life points every time by killing enemies, and 1,000 life points for bosses. Fock will gain 25% adrenaline by killing enemies, and killing a boss restores it fully. And Fock can eat raw food, rune essence and body runes. So you'll start the saga and encounter the boss known as Stomp, and you should know the strategy for defeating Stomp. And as Marmaris, you need to defeat Stomp without food or prayer, and Fock is there to help attack Stomp, but he doesn't help you charge the lodestones. Now, defeating Stomp might actually take some time, since the debris might fall in front of the lodestones, and Marmaris does not have a pickaxe in order to mine them away, so you'll need to actually wait for the debris to disappear before you can activate both lodestones. So it may be that you'll need to keep hold of the lodestones until they become available, and then worry about putting them in then. Once Stomp is defeated, you'll gain control of Fock. Marmaris has been injured, so you need to venture deeper into Daemonheim to help him. So after the fight, climb down the ladder. As Fock, you must defeat the thing with eyes without food or prayer. So run into the shelter of the pillars when the chat box shows eyeball thing glowing now. However, Fock is much more powerful than Marmaris and can hit over 1170, so the battle shouldn't be too difficult. Afterwards, you want to navigate a small dungeon. If you simply go through the dungeon without using the keys, there will only be enemies to fight, and puzzles and extra bosses will only appear behind the locked doors, which require you to do to get 100%. In the first room, after you defeat the thing with the eyes, it will appear you reach a dead end, a room with a prayer requirement of level 10, and Fock has a prayer level of 0, and also a silver crescent lock. You want to simply exercise the dark spirit where where it will say about the prayer prompt. However, if you click to continue, Fock will basically order the dark spirit to go away after a conversation. So after navigating through some rooms, eventually you should find the Silver Crescent, and that's required to go back to the Silver Crescent door in order to go and fight one of the optional bosses. So there'll be a few more puzzles to get through, and then eventually you'll reach where the Sagittarius boss is, known as the Coward with the Bow. So once you find the room with the Coward with the Bow, you want to defeat him like you normally would with this boss. Just the only thing to keep an eye out from him is when he says arrow rain, you want to move away so you don't get hit by the arrows. But once you've killed the Coward with the Bow, that's one of the 4 optional bosses defeated. Again, after travelling through several rooms, you'll come across a red block, a key. So again, you want to go back to the relevant crimson rectangle door and open that, and you encounter, after several puzzles, the bulky warrior, otherwise known as Raminaut to us. So again, like before, just defeat Raminaut as you normally would, and once you've killed him, that's 2 of the 4 optional bosses defeated. Eventually you'll come across the blue triangle key, which again you want to go and find the blue triangle door and go through it and face the armoured cow thing, which obviously this particular one, like you recognised before, is the one where you need to destroy its armour before you can attack him. There's a nearby pickaxe that you can grab in order to destroy his armour, and then you can attack him normally with Fox Sword. But once that one's dead, that's 3 out of the 4 optional bosses defeated. And then eventually you should then come across the orange shield key. Again, you want to use that on the orange shield door, and you'll come up against the Gobby Demon. And then once again, you need to kill him like you normally would. This is the one that creates the portals that damage you if you don't move out of the way of them. Once you've killed this one, that is then all 4 of the optional bosses defeated, which means once you've finished this saga, you would have got 100%. So you can now carry on with the main part of it. So eventually you'll come across a room where you must protect the pretty lass from the warped Gulega. It's not too difficult as long as you run out of the way when it surrounds you with its tentacles, as he will slam you and reduce your life points to 1 otherwise. After defeating the Gulega, you'll be talking to the pretty lass. Now, there will be a bit that comes up about returning to Marmaris. Now, obviously, you don't want to click to do that if you haven't killed the rest of the bosses that obviously we covered a moment ago. Otherwise, you won't finish it to 100%. Obviously, hopefully, if you've been following my instructions, you'd have killed all 4 of those optional bosses, so you can choose to talk to pretty lass to follow you to Marmaris, and you'll be instructed to get something cold for him. So you'll be now directed to the Walking Ice Cube, which is the giant ice fiend, and here you'll need to defeat him again like you normally would. Obviously you just got to be careful of the icicles that fall down from the sky. You can run in different directions to dodge them. One thing you can do, as the icicles can't kill you, they can just lower you down to low life points. Just you can take the damage, and then when the icicle attack is finished, is eat some food to heal your life points. Eventually you'll kill the Ice Fiend and use the Ice Fiend's body as something cold, and then that will finish that bit. And once you finish killing the Ice Fiend, you'll then finish the saga, and it will come up with your rewards. So, obviously, if you killed all of the 4 optional bosses, you would have completed it to 100% and received the unabridged book as well as the abridged book. The abridged book will give you 37,080 Dungeoneering experience and 3,708 tokens, and the unabridged book will give you 75,765 strength experience. So the next saga we're going to complete is called Nadir, and that is requiring these things. So you'll need level 55 Dungeoneering, 45 Thieving, 60 attack, and Ritual of the Marmaris. So in order to be able to start this saga, you need to have found a memory fragment within Dungeoneering. It will appear randomly on the first half of the furnished floors between floors 18 and 22. Once you have found that device, you can then talk to Scaldron about it. Now, if you haven't completed the Ritual of the Marmaris quest, Scaldron will ask, it appears you lack some experience with the Marmaris, are you sure you wish to continue with this tale? As it basically will give you some spoilers around it. Now this saga is probably the hardest one to complete to 100%, as the little puzzles that you need to complete throughout this are quite tricky, and it's quite a lengthy saga as well, so just bear that in mind. So basically in this saga you'll be playing as Moya, which is Lucian's daughter, and you'll start off with a cutscene at the beginning where the ritual site is, which you would have known about in the Ritual of the Marmaris quest. You find out that the ritual marker has scratches on it, and there are cart tracks in the snow showing evidence someone has tried to move it. So Morgul and Lucian will then ask you to inspect the area while they discuss who could have done this. Once they're done, Lucian will call for you and hand you a device to communicate with him and order you to find Bilrak and inform him on his current condition. So you arrive at Daemonheim. Exploring Daemonheim will cause chat boxes to appear, but it's not required for 100%. What you need to do is head down to the steps, and upon arriving at the steps you see a cutscene in which a sentry greets a merchant who delivered 2 large crates and murdered his assistants. After a brief exchange as to what the crates hold, the sentry will leave, and you must then interrogate the mind of the merchant and probe his memories. Now, finding all of his hidden memories is required for the 100% completion of the saga, and you'll need to do this several times throughout the saga. So this bit's quite difficult to kind of explain, so hopefully the video will sort of show what you need to be looking for as well. So you'll be brought up with an interface, and what you need to do is find memories that are hidden, so you can't actually see them. So what you need to do is hover over with your cursor, and once you've found where the hidden memories, you'll plant your probe. Now there are 3 stages of the cursor indicating how close you are to finding the memories. There will be slow flashing, which will indicate you're not near the memory. a quicker flashing indicating you're near but not on top of it, and then a rapid flashing which will indicate you've found the memory. Sound effects can make it easier to detect when you hover over a memory, as you'll hear the sound of it. If you click on a memory at the second speed, you'll only partially capture the memory and will not be able to complete the 100% version of the saga. To see if you fully captured a memory, you need to look at the 3 bars at the bottom of the window, and a half bar will indicate the memory was only partially captured. So like I said, you need to keep moving your cursor around and just pay attention to how quick it starts flashing. Once the speed of it starts to increase, you'll know you're getting near, and once it's rapidly flashing like being shown on the screen, you'll know you're right on top of it. Once you click it, you should have then hopefully fully captured the memory, which will be shown by the bar being filled. If it's only half filled, you know you've only half captured the memory. Now throughout the saga you will have to probe many times, and once you've placed a wrong probe you can't undo it, but remember that after each probe your progress will be saved, so if you fail don't move forward, simply exit the saga and begin from your last checkpoint. So after placing all 3 probes 100% correctly, you will kill the merchant and use his body as a disguise, and you'll then enter the dungeon. So after arriving on the frozen floor, you'll see several soldiers being commanded by Captain Toma to help with deliveries. As you approach, you realise that you should not go through there to reveal yourself. However, the captain will see through your disguise and you must now probe his memories and take his form, and it's the same process as before with the merchant's memories, and again you want to be aiming to get 100% capture of the memories. If you happen to not capture any of them to 100%, you want to exit the saga and then carry on from your checkpoint and try to get the 100% memories. So in your form as Toma, you are approached by a mage who's been ordered to help with the deliveries, and the dialogue is linear. So you want to turn on run and exit through the door the mage arrived by, and the next room is a storage room, and you want to complete the monologue and exit through the south door. In the barracks room, a soldier will approach inquiring about deliveries, and your responses are again linear. Continue onward through the dungeon and then leave the frozen floor for the furnished floors. So you'll start in a room with 3 doors. Open the door in the north first and you'll see it's a dead end. Walk in until you get the message and then go back to the previous room. In the next 3 rooms you'll be asked questions by Captain Toma's soldiers, and if you had not correctly probed Captain Toma's mind on the floors, you won't be able to answer the 3 questions. However, for the purpose of this guide, I am taking into account that you guys should have obtained 100% of the memories, so you should be able to answer the correct questions. So enter the door to the south and you'll be approached by a soldier who wants to accompany you on his next patrol. Answer him with, "Got something to get off your chest, soldier." Move south into the next room and enter the west door. Here a mage will ask you about the status of his transfer, and answer with, "Ask me later, Druff, I have no time for you right now." And then enter the south door and you'll be asked by another soldier if you're ready to start daily training, and answer by saying, "Tell them to wait there and no practice until I return." Continue your travel by going through the east door. And then you want to go into the next room to the south. In the room you enter now, there are 2 doors you can enter. Open the room in the east and walk in until you get a message, and then head back and go through the south door. In this room you'll encounter a Necrolord who turns out to be Lord Eudora. You will have to place the probes in his mind as well, and again you need to completely probe all 3 memories 100% in order to complete the 100% saga. So again, go through the same process. If you do happen to make an error, exit the saga and restart from the previous save checkpoint to make sure you do successfully get all the memories captured. So next you will take on the form of Eudora and call Lucian about your progress, and you need to move on to the south and you'll reach another checkpoint entering the Occult Floors. This floor starts in a room with 2 doors. Enter the door to the east, and in this room you'll find little pools of water on the ground leading from one door to another. Enter the east room where you'll discover dead troops that have drowned, a strange portal in the wall, and a cutscene will play when trying to leave the room, in which you hear voices coming. Now leave the room and enter the south door, and a Necrolord will approach you asking what to do about the slaves. Reply with cut off their hands. Move on to the next room to the south and enter the west door in the next room, and another Necrolord approaches and you want to answer with kill him or I will kill you. Move on through the west door and you'll find yourself in a room with 2 portals. Approach them will result in you drawing power from both and discovering valuable properties that Moya can use to become stronger. With these portals there is a particular requirement with this as well in order to complete this saga to 100%, so you need to not run out of portal power right up to the end of the saga, but you'll come across different portals throughout the rest of this saga which will enable you to keep it to 100%, but we're not quite at that stage yet. So now enter the south door and find yourself in another room where a Necrolord will ask if you have the body, and tell him his body is on the floor above, fetch it yourself, I'm busy. Continue through the dungeon. The next room contains a hooved mage which will move to the next room as soon as you enter. Follow it into the next room, it will discover you aren't who you appear and you'll have to kill her with your own attacks. So you'll now have a portal magic bar in place of your adrenaline bar, and the portal magic will constantly decrease, and you need to use the portals to recover health and your magic bar. If your adrenaline bar reaches 0%, you'll switch back to using your dagger and you will not be able to complete the saga to 100%. So after defeating the hooved mage, drain the portal in this room and enter the next door, and this room contains 2 rangers and 5 soldiers you have to kill. Once you've done that, move on to the next room and you'll reach another checkpoint. So as I said, at this stage, if your adrenaline bar falls to 0% at any time, you'll be disqualified from receiving 100% rewards, so you must keep your adrenaline above 0% at all times. If you do fail to keep the bar above 0, leaving and restarting from the last checkpoint will still allow you for full completion. So you'll appear in the warped floors. There is a portal in the room you're in, but it's best not to drain it yet as you need to fight some strong enemies in the next room first, and you can come back to re-drain it. Clear the room of the 2 rangers and 3 warriors. Once you've done this, you can then use one of the portals to restore your health and magic. You can go back to the room that you came from in order to drain that one if you left it. Proceed into the next room, in which a warrior will instruct a mage and ranger to retreat, and he locks the door, and then use your magic to get rid of the locked door and proceed as usual. In this room there's 3 warriors, a mage and a ranger. Once you've cleared through those, go into the next room, in which 2 warriors and 2 hellhounds will attempt to stop you, and you can clear them off before breaking a lock and continuing the next room. In that room there are 2 portals, a ranger, mage and 3 warriors. One of the warriors will say that Behemoths and Stalkers have abandoned them. Kill them, and then as there's 2 portals in this room, you can choose to just use one portal for the time being, and then obviously save one if you need to come back to it. Kill them and keep moving on until you reach a cutscene, and Moira will walk the next 2 rooms, finding corpses, drain portals and collapsed wooden debris. At this point your adrenaline will then be held constant, so you won't have to worry about it going below 0%. Once you reach the end of the second room, you'll find a ritual marker and Bilrak, who is rambling incoherently. Once you investigate the ritual marker, you'll communicate with Lucian with a choice on how to reveal his presence to Lucian. Whatever option you choose here, it doesn't affect the outcome of the saga. Bilrak will then straighten and speak directly to you, revealing that he knows Moya is half Marjarat and is willing to teach her secrets about portal magic if she accompanies him. All conversation options must be followed in order to reach this ending, so it's recommended to select the reverse order 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and so on, so you don't lose track of which one's been followed. You will then have 4 options and your choice will influence the ending, and again it doesn't matter which one you choose, as obviously the saga will still complete regardless. And then once you've done that, the saga will end and it will come up with the reward. So like I said, this saga is quite a lengthy one and it is quite difficult in order to obtain the 100%, but obviously the 3 main things you need to have done is collected all 9 memories fully of the merchant, the captain and the lord. You need to have correctly answered all the questions, but which you would have been able to do granted you had collected all of the memories correctly, and you need to have not run out of portal power at any time up to the point where you find Bilrak. Once you've hopefully completed that to 100%, you'll be given the abridged and unabridged book. The abridged will give you 3,750 dungeon experience and 375 tokens. The unabridged book would have given you 21,670 experience, 2,167 tokens, and either 11,660 thieving or 37,080 attack experience. The final saga I'll talk you through is called Fuck Your Block Off. The requirements for this one is 71 Dungeoneering and 75 Strength, and in order to start this one you need to have found the Rock and Twine bundle within the first set of the Occult Floors on Daemonheim, which is floors 36 to 40, and then once you've found them you can then speak to Scavengering outside of Daemonheim to begin the saga. And it continues off from the Fuck It To 'Em saga. Now, luckily this one's quite an easy one to complete and the side objectives are pretty easy as well, so I'll make sure I talk you through them. So Fock and his brother are exploring the dungeons of Daemonheim when they encounter Boneface, and Fock manages to get his sword stuck in his head and decides to pursue him through the dungeon, while Marmaris breaks off and goes a separate route, the brothers agreeing to compete for the most kills. You killing more monsters than Marmaris is one of the requirements to get 100%, but it's really easy to do and you need to only kill 4 more enemies than he has. So at the top of the screen is a kills meter showing the number of enemies you have slain compared to Marmaris. If you are quickly attacked of foes, you should easily be able to beat Marmaris by the end of the saga. So you want to venture through the dungeon using the keys when necessary, and these keys will take you to various places that end up to be dead ends with surprises in them. At points you'll face reinforcement rooms, and these rooms will continuously spawn enemies until a game message tells you to stop. And the rooms are quite straightforward and easy, so it should be easy altogether. When all enemies in the room are killed, Marmaris stops fighting until you begin to fight again. At one point you'll become poisoned, but the poison doesn't do any damage to you, it instead adds poison damage to your foes. So at one point, and this is one of the requirements for 100%, Fock will encounter a dead end room containing a Promethium rock and a soul bell plant. You'll want to harvest both these resources and use them on the spinning wheel in the same room to create the best thing ever. In another room later on, you'll encounter the pretty lass, and Fock blunders up trying to talk to her, but ends up giving her the best thing ever, and she returns the favour by giving Fock a fishy cake, which allows him to catch more fish from fishing spots. So that's one of the requirements for 100%. Continuing through the dungeon, you'll eventually encounter Marmaris, who mentions he has lots of fish and encourages Fock to try the fishing spot behind him. You want to use the fishing spot, but state he only finds crabs, which results in Marmaris running off laughing. Shortly after, you'll find Minimarm from Focket Toem, as well as a new lady friend called Mrs. Minimarm, and they're both required to be found for the 100% completion, and Fock will then use the crabs as weapons, which increases his attack power. So eventually, going through the dungeon, you'll come across Boneface again, who is hiding on top of a pillar, and he'll send the Grave Creeper and Hobgoblin Geomancer to attack you, as Fock's attacks are unable to hit him. He will also add a Gluttonous Behemoth to the mix so that Fock could attack something. However, the Gluttonous Behemoth will attack the Hobgoblin Geomancer and Grave Creeper, using them as carcasses to heal itself, so what you need to do is keep attacking the Behemoth so he can then start dealing damage to all the bosses. Both carcasses are killed within 3 hits of the boss, and Fock's hard hits are good enough to deal major damage on them. So once you've killed them, Fock will knock Boneface off the pillar and take the sword out of his head despite the cries of the other, and then Fock decides to let Boneface live on the contract that Boneface has never seen again. Fock will then leave the room, get disorientated and re-enter the room, finding Boneface just after he'd left him, and is enraged at seeing Boneface again after he told him never to see him again. Fock will then punch Boneface, killing him. And then eventually, after going through the dialogue and the cutscenes, you'll come up with the end, and that saga will be completed. And if you made sure you'd done the side objectives, which was killing more monsters in Marmaris, 4+ more, which you should have easily done if you completed this quick enough, you found Mini-Marm and Mrs. Mini-Marm, and you made the best thing ever and gave it to the pretty lass, you would have completed that saga to 100%. You would have received the abridged book, which will give you 53,440 Dungeoneering experience and 5,344 tokens, and the unabridged book would have given you 105,000 strength experience. So that's all of the sagas completed to 100% as long as you've gone through my instructions correctly. And hopefully, if you have now completed all of the previous tasks before we did the Fremennik Sagas one, that would be all of your Dungeoneering tasks completed, and we can now go and obtain our rewards. So to get our rewards, we need to go speak to Talsar, who is the person who teleports you to the Sinkholes minigame, who's just a short walk from Scaldrum, and you want to go through with him, and he'll give you the following rewards. So he will give you 38,000 Dungeoneering tokens, an experience lamp, which will give you 20,000 experience in your skill of choice above level 74, a Daemonheim aura free, which now has the following additional benefits. So you'd have had all the original benefits of the previous ones. When worn, the backhand ability unleashes your inner Fock, and you'll have an effect where you attack with a headbutt rather than a punch. At all times, the secondary roll effectiveness is increased to 75%. You'll have access to 2 more bind pool slots. There'll be a 5% reduction in the cost of recharging Dungeoneering items. There's a 10% increase in rewards from Sinkholes, and the access to the extended portion of the Dwarven Hidden Mine, which will now contain adamantite and mithril ore rocks. So there we are, tasks completed for the Dungeoneering hard ones. So all that leaves now is the Dungeoneering or Daemonheim elite tasks to complete, and once I have the requirements to do those, I will make the guide on that, and you'll find that in the video description below. As for these tasks, they're not overly difficult, they're just a bit time consuming in terms of obviously having to get the amount of tokens needed in order to purchase like the Ring of Kinship fully upgraded, etc. And also completing those sagas obviously does take a little bit of time as well, but obviously if you've already done the sagas in the past, you won't have to worry about redoing those again. Now, you shouldn't run into any problems following my guide, but if you do get stuck, leave a comment in the comment section below and I'll help you out as best I can. If not, thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, favourite, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends. Cheers everyone, bye bye.